Hello and welcome back to Law Explained. In this video I'll be looking at the European Parliament. So first of all I'll be looking at the composition of the Parliament, then its evolution over time, before asking the question of whether the European Parliament is a real parliament. Then I'll be looking at the powers that the European Parliament possesses, ongoing issues with the Parliament, and then a few tips for exam questions on the Parliament. The composition of the Parliament then. So the Parliament is made of directly elected representatives called members of the European Parliament. It's based in Strasbourg and Brussels, plenary sessions usually taking place in Strasbourg. It's got 750 seats plus the President, and the President and 14 Vice Presidents make up the Bureau of the Parliament. There's a minimum number of 6 seats per member state and a maximum of 96, and Germany is the country that has 96 members. MEPs sit according to their political belief and not their country of origin. So, for example, they sit in groupings. So, like the European People's Party, for example. The evolution, then, is really important when it comes to understanding the Parliament because it wasn't always the institution we know today. In fact, if you'd wind back to 1952, you probably wouldn't recognise the Parliament as it was then. In 1952, there was an assembly which was relatively powerless and had merely a supervisory and consultative role. However, the budgetary treaties of 1970 and 75 respectively, and a change to direct elections have all served to enhance the powers of the Parliament. However, the question still needs to be asked, is the European Parliament a veritable parliament? Well, with Maastricht we saw the introduction of the codecision procedure. Now this is a legislative process which puts the European Parliament on an equal footing with the Council. So the Commission still benefits from the monopoly of initiative. However, the Council and the Parliament will now have to agree before this legislation comes into effect. With Lisbon then, this was renamed the ordinary legislative procedure. Symbolic in some ways, but very important as it gives a sense that this is the way we're going now. It is now normal for the Parliament to play an essential role in legislation. And we saw this as well because Lisbon also extended the ordinary legislative procedure to 40 new areas. Article 14.1 states that the European Parliament shall jointly with the Council exercise legislative and budgetary functions. So we can see very much the role of the Parliament has been solidified in recent years and is now at the centre of the European structure. So you're probably asking, okay, fine, what powers does the Parliament really have? And it's a good question. A lot of people don't realise the extent of the Parliament's powers. The Parliament, for example, has the power of censure and a power to require resignation of the Commission. Although this power has never been used, the Parliament was able, in 1999, to pressure the Santer Commission into resigning. The Parliament also has an appointment power. It elects the President of the Commission based on the nomination of the Council. The Parliament also has a supervisory role and appoints an ombudsman. But crucially, the Parliament approves the budget, and the Parliament's power in relation to the budget really solidifies its place in the Union, because without the budget, nothing happens, and without the Parliament, the budget doesn't happen. And that's really where the Parliament's power stems from. Now, that said, there are ongoing issues with the Parliament. One of the big ones is that small member states continue to be overrepresented in the Parliament. You don't have to be a genius to figure out that Malta, with its 500,000 inhabitants and 6 members, is drastically overrepresented in relation to Germany, which by comparison has a population around 80 million and only 96 members. Another problem is that the uniform electoral procedure originally envisaged was never really enacted. So while some aspects are uniform across the Union, for example, the way we vote, the type of voting that is used, elections take place on different days, and there are other slight differences in how these elections are done. And you might think that's not a big deal. Well, it's not really, but when you're trying to create this idea of a European Parliament for all Europeans, then it's very important that we have a uniform system for electing that Parliament, and that still hasn't completely been realised. The main problem, however, is low turnouts at European parliamentary elections. Voter disinterest is at an all-time high. And there's also a huge disparity in voter turnout between member states. And this really begs the question whether the European Parliament accurately represents the Union and the peoples in the Union. There are a few exam questions that often come up. You'll often be asked to describe the co-decision procedure, and I'll actually put up a short video just where I go through just that, just so it gets real clear in your heads. Then another big question is whether the European Parliament is a veritable parliament, and we've touched upon it there, but I'll be doing another video where I really delve a bit deeper into that. Then the favourite of all examiners is the democratic deficit in the European Union, and I will be posting a video on that shortly, so do keep an eye out for that. Thanks very much. Goodbye.